Hi, welcome back to my channel and to my knitting podcast. If you're new here, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway. And for today's podcast, I have remembered to take my book with me because last time I did not and I just forgot so many pieces. So today I have it. But before we get into that, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing. My goal for 2023 was to finish one piece of clothing, one garment for myself, knit one garment for myself every month. And this month I did not have the time to do that. So today I'm wearing something I finished in 2021, I think. It's this Augustins number 16. But I have fixed it a bit this month. If you saw my last video, I tried on everything in my closet and this was one of them. And this neckline here was just done in such a hurry when I made it because I had quite a strict deadline, and then I just never picked it up and fixed what was wrong with it. But when I put it on that last video, I realized that I actually quite like the fit and I like the back, and I think it's quite a cute piece, so I wanted to fix it so I can actually get some use out of it. So I have fixed the neckline and I'm going to fix the ruffle as well, but I have not had the time to do that yet. So therefore I'm wearing this because even though it's not a finished project this month, I have fixed it so it's actually more wearable this month. And this is knit in Drops Baby Merino in the color Off-White and Drops Lace, which is discontinued, but I think I used the color beige, so it's this variegated fabric, which I think is quite nice. I was quite unsure about it when making it, but I think it has turned out quite nice. So I'm going to get better at wearing this because I think it suits me quite nicely. So that's what I'm wearing, and then I'm going to talk about what's currently on my needles, and this is my ego project for the month that I had a goal of finishing, but I just did not have enough time. I'll get into that more later, but this is the Camisole number 5, and this is a halter neck top. I am reusing this yarn that I made another halter neck top with, but I unraveled that and I'm making another halter neck top that will hopefully fit my body a bit better. And I just tried this on. I can put in a picture of that, and so far I think it's really suiting and I can't wait to do the neckline and the armhole, so the look is a bit more clean and looks more finished when I try it on. But it's really fun to just work on this, and I'm also using a blended yarn, so it's 50% merino wool and 50% Egyptian cotton, so it's quite a nice summer yarn as well. So I'm having a lot of fun working on this camisole and still waiting for summer weather. Yesterday it snowed, just a tiny bit, and it did not stick around, but the weather is definitely not great. So I'm knitting on this summer top and really dreaming about summer. This is a pattern by myfavoritethings.knitwear, and as you can see it's 2x2 ribbing with increases down the front panel and the back panel. So now I'm just working on the body. This is my third ball of yarn. I think each ball has been about one skein's worth, so this is my third skein and I've gotten this far. And I'm knitting, as I said, with, or I don't know if I said, but this is Fulcolana Merci, and it's in the color Bluestone. So that's my current project, and I hope to be done with it soon, even though I did not quite manage to finish it in May. But with that out of the way, we can start on this list, and at the top of the list is my projects that were very secret last month, but I can show them now because they are done, and by the time this is out I will have given them away. And that's these two sweaters, the Ingrid sweater and the zipper sweater. And these are both gifts for my sister. She's having her confirmation tomorrow, so, and she wanted a zipper sweater and a Ingrid sweater, and I kind of wanted to make the Ingrid sweater, but she wanted the zipper sweater the most, so I ended up making both of them, which was a lot of work. And at the start of the month I was working on 3 big projects like this, so 3 adult sweaters at the same time, and it was so demotivating because they all had kind of the same deadline, so I was splitting my time working on all of them, so I was not really seeing any project progression. I don't know that word. I was not really seeing that it was growing at all. It just felt like I kept knitting and knitting and knitting and nothing was really happening. So at one point I just decided to do them one at a time, just so I could feel I can feel that I was getting somewhere with them. And then I decided to work on this because this has the biggest gauge. It's also maybe the biggest project, but it just felt like this was moving much faster. So this was my first finished project of the month, and this is the zipper sweater, and I knit it in Drops Nepal in the medium pink color because that's the color my sister wanted. Right before making this zipper sweater, I made a zipper sweater for my fiance, and I swore to myself that that would be the last time I made a zipper sweater, because sewing in the zipper stresses me out so bad. So I just spent the whole project just worrying about sewing in the zipper. But I think it went quite well with this one as well. But just, even though I know that it will turn out okay, it just stresses me so much knowing I'll have to do it. So I think I'm going to have to take a break from making zipper sweater after this one, because I think this is my 5th since December. I made 3 in December and then 1 last month and 1 this month. So I've had enough for a while and now I want to take a break. This is knit in the size medium, and I used about 700 grams, so it was quite a lot of work with this one. But yeah, that kind of explains why I did not have the time to knit something for myself as well, because I was knitting many other adults' sweaters. But this is the first one. Then I made this, but this was not the next thing I finished, but I was working on this kind of the whole month. This actually took me over a month to finish, from the time I started till the time it was done, because I just had so many other projects pop up that I would rather work on. And then I actually finished the body, and it just lay in a box for I think over a week, because I was not excited about having to pick up stitches, and these German short rows on the sleeve and everything just kind of put me off, and I was quite tired of making such big garments. So this was not the second thing I finished this month, but I'll just talk about it now because it goes with the same gift. And this is the Ingrid sweater. This is also in a size medium, and for this one I used Drops alpaca and Drops kid silk, both in the color beige. That made this fabric, and I think it's a really nice sweater, and I'm kind of sad it's not for me, because after making this, and since I made it at the same time as I did so much else, I don't know if I will ever make another adult size Ingrid, because it just was so much work. And I must say I don't really like this cross paneling at all, and when I was done with the body and the cross paneling in the front and back and this larger section here, I knew that I had to do it again on the sleeves, and I think the sleeves are even worse because this crossover patterning on DPNs is not fun. But I did manage to do it, and I think even though it was a bit of a pain in the ass to knit up, I think it looks very nice, and I hope my sister will be happy with her gift, because I have put quite a few hours into this. But yeah, that's her gift, and it will be given away tomorrow. So excited about that, and really excited to be able to make things for myself with my needles again, because this month most of the hours have been knitting for others. And since we're talking about knitting for others, I will just talk about my third project. All of these 3 projects, I went into the month of May with all of these projects on my needles, and the third one is the Ingrid Alexandra kofta. I talked about this last episode because that was not a secret. And that's the kofta, the sweater jacket kind of that I'm working on in collaboration with my grandmother. And I used quite a bit of time this month to just finish that up. Last time you saw, I think I had like half of the body, and then I had to do the sleeves and the rest of the body, and it was in the size XXL on 3mm needles. So that was quite a lot of work as well, because there was so many stitches, and each row the project grew by like 2mm. So I definitely spent a lot of time doing that as well, but I got the project shipped off to my grandma at about the middle of the month. So now she is working on the yoke with all of the patterning and everything, and she told me that in the start, when all of the stitches from the body and the arms were combined, and before she had started doing any decreases, one row would take her about 1 hour and 10 minutes. So you can imagine how long the yoke will take when 2mm worth of progress takes 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I don't envy her that, but she likes to do color work, so I guess she has a good time with that. And of course she has done a bit more decreases now, but it's still not a finished object, but I'm counting it as one of my finished objects because I finished the part that I was doing, but I don't really have any pictures of it. I didn't take any pictures, so I have just a picture from the last podcast, and then I'll try to show you a picture when the whole garment is done. So that's that, but that was the last like big item that I made, and I was done with that halfway in the month, and then most of my time was spent preparing for the 17th of May because that's Norway's constitutional day, and I had to prepare for that and weave in ends because my son's outfit was not done until the day before. And I'll also show a picture of that. He was very cute that day, and I'm very happy about his outfit, and I hope we will be able to use it loads more. But yeah, a lot of my time has been spent either making really big projects or been spent doing other things than knitting this month. We've celebrated the 17th of May. We have been outside loads because even though it's quite cold, it's a bit warmer and the snow is gone and it's not wet, so it's easier to be outside. So a lot of my time has just been spent doing other things than knitting. But I did manage to cast something on the 17th of May because my son has quite long naps, so I had some free time that day. And that was the Melange sweater I cast on that day by Petiteknit. You work this, first you work the back and then you work the front two shoulders and combine it and work the front before you connect the body. And I just needed an easy project that day I could take with me where we were going, so I thought just knitting on a back panel would be very easy. And I'm so glad that I started this. I was very unsure when the pattern came out if I was going to like the variegation between colors, but I think as the time went on, the variegation of colors really grew on me, and now that I've made my own, I really like it, and I kind of want to make one for both me and my fiance. So really excited about this. This is made in Drops Flora in the color white and denim blue. And since you are combining two fingering weights, you don't really use that much yarn. I think I used a bit over 2 skeins of each, and this is the size 3 to 4 years. So that's not bad at all. And I just think this is such a nice sweater. I think the fit looks really nice, and I really like how well the color kind of blend in with the material because of this color variegation. So I'm really excited about this, and we will definitely start wearing it before it's big enough because I just want to wear this as much as possible because I think it's really cute. I also think it's quite fun because you can see kind of where I went from knitting back and forth to knitting in the round, because when I knitted back and forth, the variegation was much more very the same all the way, but the variegation is much bigger here when I'm working in the round. You can see like big patches of just white or just blue, but here it's more blended everything. So that's quite fun that you can see kind of clearly where I went from knitting back and forth to in the round. And it's fun that knitting back and forth had that big effect on how the yarn variegated. But if you don't want to see kind of a line with variegation here to here, I think this is definitely a project where you have to keep that in mind, because the yarn responds differently to knitting back and forth and in the round when knitting with 2 different colors. But yeah, this is a project that I'm very happy with, and I want to make it in all the sizes and all the colors, so would recommend. And even if you're unsure about mixing 2 different colors, I would say the fit is really nice, and you can make it in just 1 color as well. So this is definitely a pattern that I recommend. It's the Melange sweater by Petiteknit, if I did not say. After, or kind of while I was working on that sweater, I also accepted a Testknit for this bonnet, and this was the first bonnet I made, and then the pattern changed a bit, and this is the second one. As you can see, it's just a bit bigger because when we tested it, we found out that this sample was a bit too small, and this is an ad because I received the pattern for Testknitting. This is the Wilmers kyse, Wilmers bonnet by Trudeknits. I knit both of mine in double strand baby merino. This is the light grey and this is sage green. And I don't know which one the pattern shows up the best on, maybe this. I think the patterning is really cool, and the decreases and increases make it so that the edge gets a zigzag look, and I think that was really clever. And it also was a very easy pattern to follow because you just repeat every single row. So I would recommend this, but I also realized when making these bonnets that my son just does not have the head for bonnets, and I don't think I will be making any more bonnets, but they are very fun to make, and if you have a baby with a head that fits bonnet, I would recommend this. So I was also working on this Testknit while I was working on my other projects, and I think that's also why this month I felt like I got very little done, because I'm very used to just knitting on one project and just knitting on that from start to finish. And when you just knit on one project, you progress much faster through that one project. But when I'm working a bit on this, a bit on that, you don't really get that much done on one single project. So this month I definitely was a bit demotivated and felt like I got nothing done, but that was not exactly true. But this upcoming month in June, I will definitely try to focus more on just casting on one project at a time, because I enjoy knitting much more when I just can focus on my one project, and I just get very stressed when I have to think about all the different things, and I'm going to get better at not just thinking, oh that's pretty, oh that's pretty, I want that, I want to make that, I want to knit with that yarn, and just enjoy the thing I'm actually knitting on instead of just enjoying casting on. But that was these two bonnets. And then I started summer knitting for my son, because I am living in the hope that we will actually get summer this year. And I also am trying to stash bust. That's why I made the Melange sweater. That's why I said yes to Testknit bonnets, because I thought both those projects were perfect for stash busting. And this t-shirt that I have planned for almost a year now, with some of my scrap yarn, I finally got around to cast that on. So this is the Friday sweater, but clearly modified to have short sleeves, and this is knit in pure silk by Knitting for Olive in the color Dove Blue. And I have put an elastic in the neck because I decided to not do a folded down neck on this, and the neck was just very wide after knitting with it, because I don't think pure silk really sucks together in the ribbing as well as wool does. So I have put an elastic in here just so the neck goes inwards instead of outwards. And I'm very happy about this project because I actually used up every gram of my scrap yarn. There was not even, this was what was left. So very happy about that. The sleeves did end up a bit shorter than I wanted them. I wanted them to maybe go to here, but I was running out of yarn, so I was kind of knitting on them both at the same time, one row there, and just seeing how far I could get with that. And this ended up being how far I could get. This is a match to my Yoko top by Knitting for Olive that I made last year. This is the scrap yarn from that. So I hope we can match this summer. I can wear my Yoko top and he can wear this. And I also think that this really light fabric will be very nice when summer finally gets here. And I think the pattern on the Friday tee also looks quite nice with this yarn. And it definitely turned into a very light and airy t-shirt. This is the size 2 to 3 years. And it used 87 grams, so it's a very light t-shirt. So I definitely want to make another t-shirt like this for next year, but then I want to have more so I can make the sleeves a bit longer, and I don't know if 100 grams will be enough for that because it will also be a size bigger. But I think having a t-shirt like this in this closet is really nice, and I'm excited to start using it. And then after I had finished that, I did start up on my summer top, and I had a little bit of hope that I would actually be able to finish it this month, but just other projects kept taking the front seat. And I did find out that one of my friends is pregnant, so I started knitting up baby clothes, both because I wanted to knit her baby clothes, but also because I just wanted to knit baby clothes. So this is the Monday suit by Petiteknit, and it's knit in drops baby merino in the color peanut, and this is the smallest size. It's 0 to 1 month, and it's just so small. I can't even imagine that babies are this small. And I've not gotten around to sew in buttons yet, but I have weaved in the ends, so I'm quite proud of myself. So I just need to do buttons in this, and then it's ready to be given away. But I also, for the same friend, made a Teddybear sweater by Petiteknit, because that friend also has a daughter before, and I've made her a Teddybear sweater, so I wanted to make a matching Teddybear sweater. And she was visiting in the area, and I managed to get that sweater done before she left, so I've already given that away, but I'll show a picture. This is made in drops Lima in the color almond, and I've used the color chalk to embroider the face. And that sweater is made in the size 3 to 6 months, because that's the smallest size in that pattern. And making the Teddybear sweater, I think I used less than 24 hours making it, because it's just a really quick thing to knit up. It's on 4mm and it's raglan, and for me that moves along very quickly. So I would definitely recommend the Teddybear sweater if you're thinking about gift knitting for a baby or a child, both because it's super cute. Kids want to use it. Babies don't really have an opinion, but kids want to use it because of the teddy face, and it's also a super quick thing to knit up. And this is the pattern I reach for almost always when I'm going to be gift knitting for kids. I have sometimes made a few variations to the pattern, but this is the pattern I use when gift knitting. Very few occasions where I use other patterns. Yeah, so that's really everything that I managed to knit this month. and it actually turned out to be way more than I thought it would, because when I was working on those big sweaters at the start of the month, I thought I would maybe just get those done, and barely that. I think it was maybe the 11th of May before I finished anything, so I'm very happy that I kind of turned that around. Not because it's important to just knit as much as possible, but I just like to feel that I'm being productive with my time and actually using my time for something useful, and also just having 3 really big projects that I was working on for someone else at the same time was really demotivating. So I'm very happy that I kind of found back to my love of knitting towards the end of the month, because at the start of the month I was very demotivated and just had to make myself knit almost, because there was just so big items and I could not see the finish line. But that's all that I knit in May. These last few weeks and maybe months, but especially like the last few weeks, I've just been looking at my yarn stash so much, and also looking at Instagram and seeing what other people are knitting, and I just get so inspired and I want to make everything all at once. But I also would very much want to just have one thing at my needles at a time. So I'm really torn about just wanting to cast everything on and wanting everything, and then also wanting to be mindful about what I make and just really enjoy one project at a time. And this past month I've definitely just been casting on. I also think that was a bit influenced by me just wanting to knit on things I really wanted to knit on, get some joy back into knitting. But looking at this all the time and Instagram is definitely influencing me a lot, and there are just so many projects that I want to make, and I'm trying to focus on the things I have been planning for quite some time, and actually knitting on the summer garments I've planned now, because they have to be done in time for summer, and summer's quite short, so I have to think about that before making things for winter and fall. But I'm just craving sweaters and big long cardigans, and it's just all that I'm looking at. So I'm definitely kind of struggling with motivating myself for summer knitting versus winter knitting, because I'm just so much more used to making big sweaters and jackets and everything like that. But I'm also very much enjoying working on this, but it's just a big change to what I'm used to. And I'm just seeing all these pictures about big cozy cardigans, and it's also quite cold here still, so it's hard to imagine summer when it's cold. So I'm just very tempted about all these cardigans, especially like the levitate wrap, and I kind of want a Wednesday sweater. Don't just check it if you have seen that. I'm in love with it. I really want to make it, but I think that's a huge project, and I would use all summer if I started making that now. So, but I definitely have my plans for fall quite full, and I have a few sweater quantities of yarn for other sweaters in my stash already, but I just have so many plans and so little time. But one thing that I have learned this month that has helped me a bit with time is I've learned a few tricks on how to weave in ends, or how to kind of avoid doing them. So I've learned the, what's it called, when you felt your yarn ends together, that you can do with yarn that's not superwash. So I've been practicing that, like merging the yarns together with heat and water, so you felt them together. So that's been very fun. And I've also tried to learn the magic knot, which I still think is quite hard. I don't quite understand the magic knot, but I use the magic knot on the Melange sweater, and I use the felting method on the Teddybear sweater. So I'm kind of starting to dip my toe in learning some of those methods, because I'm having a really hard time motivating myself to weave in ends. So kind of eliminating as many ends to weave in as possible has been very nice, and it's been very fun learning about that. So I'm like, while I have previously, when I watched my skein nearing an end, I've kind of dreaded and been like, oh, here we go, another end to weave in after I'm done with this project. But now I'm like, I can try out the new method I've learned to avoid doing all of the weaving in of the ends. So that's definitely been fun, and I think that's a great way to kind of keep the fun part of knitting, just learning new stuff, if it's knitting or how to weave in ends or doing buttons and all of that. So that's maybe the most fun part of knitting this month for me, just learning how to avoid ends to weave in. So if you have any other tips I can use to avoid weaving in ends, or I'm also very bad at buttons, if you have any tips to me on that, I would greatly appreciate it, because it's way more fun to learn about than I thought. And that's really it. I'm going to get back to knitting, and yeah, that's really it. I'm going to get back to knitting now and try to squeeze as much knitting time out of this nap time as I can, and hopefully I will either be done with the neckline or get over halfway on the body today. So nice talking to you, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe.